to have a squad of 75 to work with and pick from at any given point in time. It'd be it's certainly a luxury to have.
The confidence levels of the Wallabies, I mean, they should be high because of the way that you played. But let's remember, you lost the series, okay?
South Africa will repeat again. It'll be an unbeaten slate for the Boks. They're going to come to New Zealand.
Why did I ask?
And pillage. And they're going to start this weekend with a fevered flyover frenzy.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
A couple of days away then from the start of the Rugby Championship, and I know we've been talking about it all week, and we're going to be talking about it for the next 8 weeks. This is the pinnacle of world rugby for the next 8 weeks. I know, yes, we've Six Nations, yes, we've had the Lions tour, but I'm talking about right here, right now. Who is the best in the Southern Hemisphere? Well, joining us from the 8-9 Combo Podcast, two great old mates, Brett McKay and Harry Jones. And they're in different parts of the world at the moment. Brett in Aussie and Harry, you're in the States. A great pleasure to have you both back on. Thank you so much.
Hello, we're here.
Cheers, Marty. Looking forward to it.
Let's start with you, Haz, and that side selected by Rassie a day or so ago. And I've been talking about this with you on Twitter, the 5-3 bench split, which you reckon is 5.5, 2.5. How do you rationalise that?
Yeah, so if you're watching closely, Andre Esterhazen, who's a giant of a man, if you walked up to him just on the street, you'd say he was an 8. So they'll play him as an 8, pretending Sia as an 8 just at scrums, but in all the carries, second phase, third phase, fourth phase, it'll be Andre trucking it up, and then he'll actually pack down in the scrum at some point when Sia goes off, usually early. So that's the stealth. It's the stealth 6-2.
Okay.
And it's interesting because there's something fascinating about Rassie's. He cannot stop doing things. He just has to keep experimenting to get more, data into the machine. But no, it's the speed, the power, and the glory. You're right. South Africa's going for 4 or 5 in a row against Australia, 5 in a row against New Zealand. And this is where complacency and overconfidence could creep in. But I actually think naming it early is interesting because it allows Rassie to lure Joe Schmidt into doing a 6-2. And then Rassie has time to just go, oh, I see you're 6-2. And then Archies Neyman's back on the bench. So there's never a dull moment right now with the court jester of rugby.
Are you happy, Harry, with that side, that 15/23?
Yeah, it is. So there's 2 things that are really important in understanding the current Springboks, which is they've dispensed with, except for a tight head prop, number 4 lock, the midfield and the blind side probably, they've dispensed with the idea that there is someone who's the first string and then a second string. So that's all just by the wayside. Right. Peter Steptoe, Ibn Etzebeth, the tight head, Volkolo, and then the midfield, yes, those are firms. But who is the number 1 10? Who is the starting 10? Who is the starting 9? And who is the starting 15? There is no such thing. It is horses for courses all day long. And he's trained, not just him, but his coaching staff has trained people. It's not a demotion. Nothing bad happened. You could have the most outstanding 5 matches in a row. So if Dan Carter did that, he'd play 10 matches in a season. Andre Pollard used to play 10 matches a season. Now you get 5. And then Libok gets 5. And then Sasha Feinberg Ngozulu gets 5. And it doesn't reflect on their standard of play. And that's the thing that he's doing that is sort of giving people a bit of a worry because, how do you combat that? It's the hardest team to prepare for because you really don't know what you're preparing for because Grant Williams is very different from Kumas Reinach and Andre Pollard is extremely different from Sasha.
Brett, how daunting is this when you look at that combination that South Africa have selected? And, and it is daunting, isn't it? And Harry's right. They are in a luxury position at the moment where, they've got 2 or 3 first fives. They seem to be doing, the All Blacks are trying to do this as well. It's kind of build 4 players in every position. And so does it really matter what names are on that team sheet? Is it just more that, hey, this is the Springboks up in the high veld, it's at Ellis Park?
Yeah, to have a squad of 75 to work with and pick from at any given point in time, it'd be it's certainly a luxury to have. Obviously, France is a very similar situation as well, and I can't imagine that there would be a coach in the international game the world over that wouldn't love to be in the same sort of position. But you're right, it just means that at any given point in time, you are playing South Africa at this venue at this time, and it's just a matter of being ready for it. And it probably means that, yes, if they play Pollard at 10, they'll play this way. If they play, Libok at 10 like they will this weekend, they're going to play slightly different. So it means that at any given point in time, Joe Schmidt and any coach facing South Africa probably has to have a couple of different game plans, a couple of different analysis plans on the go at any given point in time. But that's international rugby too, isn't it? That's, it's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be the biggest test in rugby. So, we all know that Joe Schmidt's a smart guy. He'd have been expecting this. Has Rassie done him a favour, naming a team on Monday? Maybe. And then that in itself becomes interesting, doesn't it? If suddenly, the Wallabies name their team and then Rassie changes his, well, then what's the point of naming teams if we're just going to change things before kickoff? Do we just lodge team sheets an hour before kickoff and that's that?
Well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Why can't it be fluid like that? Can't you make a change beforehand? I don't understand why it's always been set in stone, Brett. Why does it have to be, I name my team Wednesday and that's...
Someone think of the TV producers and the program writers and the printers and all that sort of stuff. Come on, there's admin in this sort of stuff. We can't have anarchy. It's got to be, this is test rugby. We've got to do it properly.
Harry,
to be fair, I think Rassie still has to name a switch before the deadline.
Right.
But it could be as funny as being 1 second later. Like, sorry, Sneeman's in.
Right, okay. I get Brett, just in terms of the rest of us in world rugby at the moment, one thing I don't want to do is elevators to build their ego up that they're this beast which can't be beaten. They were beaten twice last year. Yes, they were beaten, a B team in against Argentina, whatever. They were beaten by Ireland at home, the Springboks as well. And they can be beaten. How important is it that the rest of us keep that mentality that this isn't some side that is just so much better than everybody else?
Yeah, and that's the same with every team too. But you're right. That's got to be the way. That's got to be the way anyone goes into a game against South Africa. What they're probably doing is doing away with the notion of A and B and C teams because they're just putting together a team. And if, as Harry says, there's 3 or 4 different options at 10. There's 3 or 4 different options at number 8, at number 2, whatever. Then that's by their own doing, isn't it? So South African fans can't have their cake and eat it because that was our C team. No, sorry, it was just the team you named. They are beatable. They have to be beatable. Every team is beatable on any given point, but it does mean that any opposition team has to be meticulous in their planning. It doesn't actually matter which Springboks side it is. It's still the number 1 team in the world, and so plans and preparations probably won't be that much difference because of that.
Harry, is that, listening to Brett say that, is that more than a headspace for every other team of just forget about this opposition and just actually, if you play well yourself, if you look after your own ball, if you do everything right that you need to do, if you earn enough possession, enough territory, if you kick your goals, is it that kind of mentality that you got to take in?
Yeah, but for a long time, Boks and Bok fans needed the underdog, us against the world, who's against us thing, and that's not really tenable anymore. You have to own the favorite tag, and it's really what Rassie's been working on very strongly, which is to win abroad, to win overseas, to not have excuses, cut out excuses that he would make even, just get rid of excuses. Our best is better than the Wallabies' best at this moment in time, not forever, not back in 95 and probably not in 2035, but right now. So do it, take care of it because it's fleeting. I think the Boks look at the Wallabies defense as an open door. I think this is a speed team that was picked. I don't think you'll find a quicker 9, 10, 15, which is important, of Afalele Fase, Mani Lubbock, and Grant Williams. That is just lightning. And then when they're, a bit tired, you bring on Damian Willemse, who ran down Caleb Clark with one hand, and you have Kobus Reinach, whose dad set a record for 400 meters in South Africa. So, it's just speed. And that's saying we think the Ikitau, bend, but probably also break, drifting tumbleweed, Joseph Akusu Suali setup is not really workable. Max Jorgensen hasn't seen swivel hip speed, the likes of which he's about to see. It's not a bash down the door. It is not a power team at all. It doesn't even have locks on the bench that are especially big. It is definitely we think we can run you off the feet. We've been up here in the Highveld for a month. We're ultra fit. We haven't got any dings on us, no niggles. Let's just go. You score 2 tries, we'll score 8. Let's go.
Oh, look, I hope Joseph Swiley looks at this podcast, and I hope that he takes the motivation from that, Brett, and I hope he swats men aside like we know that he can. Realistically, the confidence levels of the Wallabies, I mean, they should be high because of the way that you played. But let's remember, you lost the series, okay? And you had chances at 23-5 to shut out a test match and didn't do that. So this is not the finished Wallaby article. That's what I'm saying.
No, certainly not. They'll take plenty of confidence out of the Lions series. I've got no doubt, and particularly the way that they were able to, play and by their own admission, played so passively in Brisbane to really fronting up physically and niggly in Melbourne and Sydney. So to make that transition in a week, they know they've got that in them. It's got to be the way forward now. It's got to be the way that they go into every test match from here on in. And so, that's going to be a big part of the Wallabies going forward. It's funny hearing all that. I hear about, slightly smaller locks and swivel hips and all that sort of stuff. I'm still waiting for him to say, yeah, but we're underdogs.
Oh.
I've been hearing it for 12 months here now. It's incredible the lengths that this guy goes to still claim underdog status, despite the winning record, despite the world ranking, despite the number of weeks they've sat out on top of the world rankings. Yeah, but we're underdogs. No, you're not.
No.
Just accept your favouritism and play like it.
Yeah, that's it. Look, you've got target on the back. That's it.
It doesn't need to be fair.
Yeah, they've got the number one target on your back and everyone wants to knock you off. I mean, that's entirely fair. You don't get that position by any other way than earning it, Harry. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and we're not, don't think we're awestruck over here, because we're not. You're just another team that's going to come to Eden Park and add to our record. Oh, we've won 195 now in a row at Eden Park. Come sooner. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, but what have you done?
It is true that Ireland came over in South Africa and beat us, and so we're just looking at the Wallabies just beat Ireland plus England plus Scotland plus Jack Morgan.
Here we go.
And we were just playing some Romans and some guys from a country called Georgia. And I mean, we're a little bit underbaked.
Yeah.
We're just happy to be on the same field. As Will Skelton, who I understand can lift entire cities on his two hands and throw Ibn Etzebeth around. We're scared. We're worried. We're worried we're going to be bullied.
Oh, Lord.
On that issue, we always looked up to the All Blacks on their ability to have the swagger and be number one. The problem is, and I think this is something that you're probably a bit worried about, Marty, is I looked at the sort of August 19, 2019, 6 years ago, and since that time, number of days in number one ranking, England 7 days, France 7 days, New Zealand 50 days, Ireland 500 days, and our beloved Box 1,500 days. And I remember a time when the All Blacks were on top of the world for 3,500 straight days. And so we are just trying to eat this up right now, Marty, until we run into you at Eden Park, because that is the toughest place in the world to win.
Well,
we're still underdogs, Marty.
Yeah, we're still underdogs. Look, it's a fabulous championship, and I was talking off here to Harry about this, Brett, and I hope you agree. The Super Rugby season was excellent, wasn't it? We all got a buzz out of it. It just felt like rugby was kind of back. The Lions Tour has done that in terms of rugby down this part of the world. Here in New Zealand, we're all loving that tour, watching that tour. It just feels like this Rugby Championship has got much more importance attached to it. Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, I think so. And in that regard, from an Australian point of view, it's almost a shame that it can't start in Australia and carry on the momentum that came out of the Lions series, because that would have been, fantastic. And so, by quirk of scheduling, this happens to be the year where the Wallabies only play three home games and they start away. In an ideal world, you might have looked at that schedule and done it a little bit differently and try to capitalise on that.
Yeah, good call.
But I agree with you. Now, there's very much a feeling of, all right, the Lions series is done. We've got that benchmark. Now let's go and see how we go against the top two teams in the world and see where we really stand. And that's not to shy away from that. That's not to say, we're definitely going to beat them. It's to say, all right, let's see how this game plan that we've worked on and that the Wallabies have almost fallen into, let's see how it does actually go against the best teams in the world, and not just the best collection of the four nations. So it's going to be exciting times, and it'll be really, really good, interesting to see how that translates into the contest at Ellis Park in the very early hours of Sunday morning our time.
Yeah. Okay. So the circus aspect, the ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, lift a guy in the middle of the field. I mean, we're going to see any of this nonsense, are we, Harry? Because the Australians used to pull out a thing called the up the jumper. You remember this, Brett? Back in the 70s, where you come out from a line, everyone runs around like sticking like that. Is that Rassie's new party trick? Is it going to be, Harry?
Hey, Marty, I talked to the actual high school coaches, the under 19A, 19B at Paul Ruiz, which is a royalty high school in Stellenbosch. And what happened was they were worried about the ability to sustain attack in the red zone. And what it offered was the lift in the middle of general play to reset a maul, sort of gave you another attack set. So like that attack set was done, and now we're going to do another one. You can still defend it, and I'll talk to them about what you could do. But what's funny is Rassie was copying high school coaches. And it sort of gives you an idea of the fertility of his demented mind, which is that he's just constantly checking out stuff. And he's got a washing machine brain. It's just going all the time. And I know Eddie Jones had an article out today saying he inherited Rassie's laptop when he was consulting the Springboks in 2007. He couldn't believe what was on there. And there might be some other stuff we don't want to talk about. But the thing is that Rassie is always, whatever you think you're preparing for, he's ahead. And this is the reason why, Marty, being number one and staying number one, they always catch you. Someone always catches you, right? They're obsessed with you. So he's obsessed with going, yeah, but you're not fighting against the box you thought you were in 2024. Now it's a different one. So even if some of them are really kind of cringe and silly, I think you'll probably see some more, especially around lineouts. Okay. And quite frankly, a lot of teams are doing some pretty funky lineouts nowadays.
This time last year, Marty, we saw them go up in a lineout and at the back, take it to the back, throw it to the front, like in the air. So there's going to be something, but that's the evolution of the game too. That's actually the really exciting part about it. If your game plan doesn't move while everyone else is changing, then you're effectively going backwards. So it's hard not to admire that about Rassie, despite what I can't imagine what's going on in his brain. I can't imagine the brain power he must have. He must have.
He thinks about it all the time.
He video clips all the time. He just spends. I can't imagine how he goes through it all.
I'd like to see what he does at home. I'd like to see a camera inside his house and see whether he's just walking around and the way he takes the milk out of the fridge. He goes, right, there's a line out in there somewhere. I could do that. I don't know. Everything seems to be. But I love that. I love that about this guy. Like, he's a real character, and we need this. We need this in international rugby. Don't we? Need lots of narratives and lots of storylines, and he brings it. It was as good as Eddie Jones at press conferences, wasn't it? We used to love Eddie Jones at press conferences because he'd always have something to say. He'd always bring something back this way. And I think Rassie Erasmus is that guy. Harry, is there enough difference between the style of the top teams in the world for your mind as well? Because I know you're a real rugby purist. Do you see a difference in the way that South Africa are going to play, Australia are going to play, New Zealand are going to play, Argentina are going to play? Or is it all starting to mash and merge as one?
No, I think so. And you can almost exemplify it with which of the All Black fly-offs play better against whom. Almost like Nadal was good on clay, Federer on grass, and Novak was a hard court guy. I think Damien Bodie and Mwanga have different strengths, and they play out, and it sort of shows you who's who. So Damien owns Ireland and England, very procedure-based teams, choreographed. Joe Schmidt inherited to Farrell, Borthwick, very system. So Damien can do things that don't make sense. It works. You try to put him against Africa and France, he gets killed. So Bowden Barrett's there because he can play on the line, on the edge. He's seen everything. He's done everything. You're not going to be able to trick him. And then Mwanga just takes care of everyone else, You go up against Australia, against Argentina, you see Mwanga, he's terrible. It's going to be 50 points. He's a machine. So I do think you can see that there are ruck builders and ruck destroyers. The difference between the number of rucks that Ireland builds in her game versus the French, or how long they kick, is unbelievably different. So even in the Northern Hemisphere. So I think there's enough there.
Okay.
I do worry sometimes a little bit about the one-off nine, playoff nine to a forward pod who comes out the back. I mean, that's a little bit boring. So, but I don't know what you do about that.
Brett, just realistically, your chances of winning against Argentina's chances of beating the All Blacks?
This weekend, look, it's only got to win by one, Marty, especially at Ellis Park, especially for the first time in 60 years. It's only got to be by one. It doesn't have to be pretty. You certainly don't have to draw pictures. whether they can do that, we'll see. You know, the challenge of flying to South Africa, getting up on the high veld. They went this time last week. So they've been over there for nearly a week already. Is that enough? It's probably one of the biggest challenges in world rugby, isn't it? Playing at altitude like that in South Africa. It's almost hard to believe I'm about to say this. Sometimes you think, why couldn't we have played this game in Pretoria? Why could we have played it in somewhere other than Ellis Park? But at some point in time, the Boks are going to lose there. So why couldn't it be this weekend? It could be. Why can't the Wallabies catch them out? If they can start well, play the physical game. They saw it against the Lions. It did put them on the back foot when the Wallabies played into their faces. It put the Lions back on their back foot, and they were able to hold them back. Is that going to be enough to hold out the Boks, the world champion, number one in the world Boks? We'll see. We'll find out, won't we? But it's a big test for this Wallaby side. To have the luxury of working out which first choice world class number 10 would be able to play right at this point in time, given the Australian injury stakes.
I mean 9 and 10 especially, because I don't think your combo was right for the Lions. It was okay in that third test, but I'm not quite sure that you've actually got it right yet. I mean, who's your number 9 starter, for example, as far as Sunday morning goes?
Yeah, look, it's got to be Tate, doesn't it? I still think it'll be Nick White.
Well,
I think Tate McDermott is too good coming off the bench, and him starting a game exposes too many flaws in his game. His pass isn't as good as the others. His kick certainly isn't as good as the others, and the Wallabies are going to need that. So he's much better coming on with half an hour to go, where he can snipe a little bit around the ruck, and the flaws in his passing game aren't as exposed as they would be from the start. That's why I'm quite sure it'll be White. I don't think they're going to debut Ryan Lonergan at Ellis Park. That's a huge ask for a new number 9. Ben Donaldson, we'll see. This is probably this next 6 or 8 weeks, perhaps the biggest little period in his international career. He can build a test career potentially through this Rugby Championship. So big questions to be asked, and we'll see how they're answered this weekend.
Okay, I got a couple to go, and then we'll let you go. This is the 8-9 Combo Podcast. Brett McKay and Harry Jones with us. So this is one of those rare occasions, Brett, in New Zealand and Australian sport where we look at each other across the Tasman and go, you know what, we actually want you blokes to win. Can you blokes win as well? It doesn't happen that often. I think we've got to celebrate moments like this, don't we? Where we actually do. We're on the same side this weekend.
Yeah, we do. And look, there's big ranking implications for the Wallabies as well. They're currently 6th, but the gap between from the Wallabies in 6th to England in 5th is 4 or 5 points. So it's a big gap. Whereas the gap to Argentina and Scotland in 7th and 8th, and I might have that order slightly wrong, is not much at all. So whilst a loss won't necessarily impact that too much, if Australia can win in South Africa in the next 2 weeks, that's a huge jump forward. And with the World Cup seedings essentially being decided on rankings at the end of this year, the Wallabies really need to stay in 6th as much as they can. So a win in these next 2 weeks is huge for that. So it's a big motivator. There's lots for them to play for. And, some of these guys, a lot of these guys have never played in South Africa, never mind won. What a story that'd be for their careers.
Joe Schmidt has had made a habit of this. He's the first, Irish coach to beat the All Blacks, in Chicago. Yeah. Come down. He's actually done this. He's won 6 Nations. That it's not like he's, you talk about Rassie being clued up and having all kinds of things go on. I mean, this is what I'm expecting as well, Brett. I'm expecting something from him that we haven't seen so far.
Yeah, well, I hope so. And I think about I spent a night with Jake White in a coaching box during the 2013 Lions series, funnily enough. And his message to his team that night was, boys, I can't help you win, but I can show you how to. And Joe Schmidt will be delivering similar sorts of messages. He'll have been studying the box for 12 months, probably, realistically, since last year. He has spent plenty of time on the Lions, no doubt, but in the background, he would have been working on the box as well. And they're going to come into it fresh. They haven't played for a month, South Africa. Is that going to work against them?
Oh, they're underdogs. They're underdogs, mate.
The recency. Oh, they are underdogs. And look, I hope they're competitive, South Africa. ultimately, I hope they're competitive.
Let's leave it at this. I want one after the other. Harry, you go first. Who's going to win the Rugby Championship and why?
South Africa will repeat again. It'll be an unbeaten slate for the Boks. They're going to come to New Zealand.
Why did I ask?
And pillage. And they're going to start this weekend with a fevered flyover frenzy and smash the Wallabies. Not because we don't like the Wallabies. We love them. They're cute. But we want to show the Lions that this is how it's done. And every man, let me just promise one thing. In Ellis Park, and I'll be there, every single one of us, as ridiculous as this sounds, we think we can take Will Skelton. And that's the energy he's going to feel on the field. And I just cannot wait for that.
Brett, who's going to win
between confidence and condescension?
Who's going to win the Rugby Championship and why?
I think it probably will be South Africa, but I don't think they'll be unbeaten. I think they'll slip up somewhere along the way, and I just hope it's in the next 2 weeks.
I hope it's at Eden Park. You know that.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
DSPN.